What's going on, guys? It's me again, trying to help you get better at Crucible in the Edge of Fate. Now that we're halfway in the middle of Edge of Fate and Asher Iron update has come out, I feel like it's a good time to talk about what is actually effective in the Crucible and ways to improve, because in my opinion, I know that there are a lot of ways to level up your light level in this game. However, I personally think when you get the MVP bonus drops when it comes to Crucible, that it becomes the most effective way to grind, most effective, most efficient way to grind in order to get your light level up into the 450s, those sweet, juicy tier 5 rolls that you want. So let's start with some basic stuff that can help you just immediately if you're someone who doesn't really play a lot of PvP and is just trying to get into it to get either one, the drops, or two, get some of the armor, because a lot of the set bonuses that come from the PvP armor is actually not that bad, especially in terms of PvE, such as the Last Disciple armor, which will do increased damage against vehicles. So that is literally almost all the bosses in the Desert Perpetual raid, so it is very helpful to get those kinds of set bonuses. First off, make sure you pick a subclass and some weapons that are actually competitive. I know running hard meta is never fun for a majority of people. However, when other people are running it, sometimes it's just what you have to do. So be conscious of what the meta is at all times. As of today, when this video is being made and we pushed out, we just had a TWID that gave nerfs to the primary ammo hand cannon shotties, which needed to happen, but that is a factor to bring in, along with Grav Spike has finally been nuked a little bit, and also some other hand cannons are being brought up, specifically adaptive hand cannons, after they were hit a little hard, and now I think they're bringing them up a little bit, so be aware of that. We're also always in a pulse meta. This current expansion, for some reason, we also seem to be in a scout meta, so be aware of that as well. With certain subclasses you should run. For Warlock, obviously the top one is always going to be Solar, with some Prismatic and Void followed right behind it, with the others not really getting a lot of action. And if you like playing them, by all means do so. Eventually you do have to play with what you're comfortable with. If you're on Hunter right now, knives are still a problem. Hunter has the best kit, if I'm being honest, with Solar being at the top, Void right behind it because it never got nerfed, followed by probably Prismatic and even some Arc if you want to be annoying and do the little Arc jump thing, because it does a lot of damage, same as a Warlock doing Arc set. So there are some options there. And then Titan, obviously Void is always a top contender, but along with Bolt Charge Titans and even Prismatic Titans, there's a lot of options you have. So let's move on to what you should be doing with your armor. Alright, so let's talk about the armor mods that go on the armor. A lot of people that come from PvE, they make the mistake of not switching their armor mods. That is a massive mistake, because those absolutely do matter. And there are some armor mods that work in PvE that do not work in PvP, such as the resistance mods. A Void resistance mod does not work in PvP, even though we all know if you get hit by something Void in PvE, it hurts very bad. It hits like a truck, but those do not work. So let's talk about ones that are important to have. On the head, you should always have some type of targeting mod for whatever guns you're running. Me personally, depending on how I'm playing that day, like I'm on Solar, and I know I want to use Igneous Hammer because that's a tried and true PvP gun. I'm a hand cannon user, it's my number one gun I use. I'll run double harmonic siphon, and then I'll run the third targeting as whatever my secondary weapon is. So in that case, it would probably be a Deadlock, which is a stasis shotgun. So then I would have a stasis targeting mod. However, you can get away with running just one targeting mod of each thing. There are some times where, say I'm running Criminal's Dagger with a Prophet of Doom shotgun, which is Arc. There's sometimes I won't even put on an Arc targeting mod, because most of the time those engagements, if I miss that shot, I'm just ass. I'm not trying to actually have that much targeting going on. So always do it with whatever your primary weapon is, possibly two. There's no real reason to ever do three of a primary weapon. There's just diminishing returns at that point where you could use something else. if you have the ability to do so with those stats. Next up, we'll go to arms. You want some kind of reload or some kind of handling mod that'll make your exchanges quicker and make it easier to use. On your chest, you want the unflinching mods for your primary weapons, maybe even the secondary here if you feel like you get flinched out of shotgun shots, but for the most part, you should run unflinching for your primary. And then on the legs, you should run something that gives you health on orb pickup, and also something that will give you ammo back just from passive time to your special weapons. That way you don't have to waste time reloading. Obviously, feel really strongly about something that supersedes anything someone will tell you, that's not a problem. Like, that, if that's what you're comfortable doing, do it. But I think these are all very solid ones that'll help you in the long run. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing, where we're going to talk about stat distribution and how it is important for Crucible. Alright, so let's talk about stat distribution here. So as you can see, this is my Strand Warlock build. If you didn't know, Strand is really powerful right now, so I highly suggest maybe getting on it and using it, because Threadling's got a massive buff. So let's start with the most important stat, and that is health at the very top, right up here. As you can see, I'm at 154, and that's because 150 is the previous 100 recovery. In the pre-Edge of Fate, if you should always have been running 100 recov, even if you were not a Warlock in PvP, because it gives you the best chance to get back into a fight and to heal up before someone pushes you. In this current stat distribution whatever you want to call it, we have 150 is the threshold of what old 100 used to be, and then anything above it just is simply better than that. Unfortunately, I myself have not had enough time to grind armor to the point where I really want to, can get up to higher than 154, so I am stuck here in the 150s on all my PvP builds for the time being, but eventually I would like to get higher than that, because it obviously gets increased the higher you go, all the way up to 200. The second most important stat when it comes to all this during the stat distribution is the super stat. If you are running under 100, there's a good chance in comp games and trials, which is, you know, the end game PvP that you would probably like to do good in because it has the best rewards. If you are under 100 super, you are just simply not going to get your super. Hell, I'm over 100, and even on my Nova Bomb or anything else that's like a faster super cooldown type of super, I still struggle to get it if I drop 15 to 20. It depending on how much damage I do, obviously, but 100 is like the min that you need. But anything over 100, it doesn't do anything. So you want to be right at 100. That is like the second most important part. The third most is obviously going to be class ability. However, there's a little discrepancy here depending on what you are playing, obviously. So the only one that I would say is truly mandatory that you need 100 class ability is probably for the Warlock class, just because the more rifts you have, the better chance you have of one survival and being able to rift peek, you know, just be a Warlock. It's a lot easier to do. For Titan, I don't know, when I play Titan, I don't usually use my barrier that often other than to like lock down lanes or for a heavy round in trials, but most of the time, like, I'm not really using it that often. So I don't maybe need 100. I might want to put my stats towards something else, unless you're running Bolt Charge Titan. And if you want to be part of that cornball build, then by all means throw on 100 class abilities, so then you can do what you need to do. For Hunter, because you get dodge is so much faster than Titan and Warlock, there's no real reason for you to have 100. You should be at least around 70 or 80 though. That way you still get it a lot, and then you can dump into some other stats that you deem important to use. As far as the other stats go, unless you're running a very specific build, I do not think the weapon stat is that important to invest in. It only really affects one type of pulse rifle, which is Bygones, and then it also affects rapid fire scouts, and then honestly that's about it. The weapon set, and I guess technically it does 180 precision frame hand cannon, but that is only for sightline survey, so I wouldn't worry too much about that stat in PvP. It's not as important. There is some talk about it increases ammo generation, but like if you're getting primary kills, you're gonna get ammo, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. As far as the other stats go, where it comes to melee and grenade ability, if you have about 70 a tier 7 on that, That is equivalent to what 100 generation used to be pre-Edge of Fate. So as long as you're in around that range, you should get your abilities up as much as you need them. It just obviously becomes personal preference at that point, so do with that information what you will. But the 3 big ones you want, those are really, really helpful in the new stat meta we have currently. So make those a priority. Then you can get into what armor you want. I recommend getting Trials armor, can never go bad. However, with the Iron Banner armor becoming introduced along with Bushido armor, those are the 2 you really want. You want like a set of 2 of Bushido and a set of 2 of Iron Banner. If you want to go to the 4 sets for each, by all means. However, those are the 2 most rewarding ones when it comes to PvP and especially endgame PvP. If you can't do those or like unable to, the Trials gear itself is also never a bad option. So by all means, try to get those 2. The 4 set of Trials isn't that bad either. As long as you're getting some juicy tier 5s, that's all that really matters. Lastly, I got a video clip for you guys just from this past Trials weekend where I want to highlight something an enemy did that he shouldn't have done, and this just shows you what you should do. So as you can see, we're in Jav 4 and we're holding the middle here. The flag is obviously outside, however we're trying to establish the middle here, and luckily one of them engages and comes in to get us. As you can see on the radar, I turn around, go to get him. There's also another one here as well. We kill this guy, but then the second guy is right around the corner here. So we have now taken these 2 guys out, and where's their 3rd guy to help fight at all? He didn't. He stayed out there by the flag. The flag is important on where you should try to go, but on smaller maps, the flag isn't as important because even though he's sitting here capping, he's not going to have time. You have to be able to push with your team. Don't think you have to go play zone all the time. Help your team. Be adjustable, be flexible, be water. Alright guys, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel and press that bell next to subscribe to get notifications for whenever I go live or whenever a new video drops just like this one. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the Crucible, and GG's.